Secretary of State John Kerry is in Baghdad this morning. He arrived just a few hours ago to meet with world leaders about the crisis in Iraq. The terror group ISIS captured 4 new towns over the weekend. Iraqi leaders are now asking for more help from the U.S., but the U.S. is hoping the country can end the violence on its own. And here with more on the crisis in Iraq is Michael Banzet. Mike worked his way up through the ranks of the U.S. Air Force before retiring from Wright-Patterson. He served in Desert Storm, Operation Iraqi Freedom. You have, God, Mike, almost lived half your life in Iraq because you did some advising there as well. You did what these guys are doing right now, these 300.
A little bit.
All of your time in the air, thousands of hours in the air. Airstrikes are being talked about. Is airstrikes enough to cure this problem?
Oh, I don't think it's enough. It is a necessary component of any combined arms campaign. Like we were talking about earlier, it's not enough just to give somebody a gun and a bunch of people.
Right.
That doesn't make an army or a military force. It's a necessary component. It can help halt an advance, but to take and hold ground and to win the war on the ground, it takes more than that. You have to back up those holes that you've blown in the enemy with other things.
This militant group, how are they taking over these towns?
Well, that's how terror works,
yeah.
Right? They leverage terror. They take into account, they'll kill people who are not cooperating with them and silence other people who maybe would resist, and that leaves a very small number of people who are actively resisting them, and that's how it works. They started very small up in the north and I think the east, and they've leveraged that terror all the way down through as they march.
You see images like this, and you got to just know that the people are living in fear. And all your time over in Baghdad and all over the country of Iraq, we don't know their mindset. Their mindset is one of mistrust, unfortunately, correct?
Correct. Yeah, and that's what surprised me the most. The year that I spent on the ground there was probably the most valuable year of my professional career, because I did get to see it from their perspective. And the folks that I worked with, I was part of the Coalition Air Force transition team, and we were trying to help rebuild the Iraqi Air Force into the kind of Air Force that we would want to have. And we made great progress. That's why I wrote that book. And what I found was that Saddam had created a space where folks that are your age and my age couldn't trust each other at all. Unless you knew somebody from the time you were tiny, you didn't trust them because they could turn you in.
Your contention is that we shouldn't have left this early, but
we left too early. I think we left too early.
What's done is done, and now what needs to happen moving forward?
It's a lot harder to fix
since we're gone. Yeah.
Since we're gone, because now guess who's part of that distrust circle? We are. We left them kind of high and dry. We were, ironically, the kind of folks that we would want in charge were the younger generations, and now they're kind of outnumbered by the old folks. And now you saw what happened up in Mosul, where the older folks that we didn't get a chance to kind of ease out of leadership positions took off. And left these guys high and dry, and that's unfortunately airstrikes. I think are just a component. The 300 that you talked about,
the advisors,
is a good step for sure. And one of the other things that we learned was that just your presence in there, the presence of an American specifically, causes changes in behavior. So all of a sudden, where they may have cut and run, now if there's an American GI there, they may stand and fight.
Name of your book, real quick, is
Flower Shop in Baghdad.
Flower Shop in Baghdad. It has some great stories about the positive. You hear so much negative about it, but the good people there, the positive experiences that you had, and hopefully, we can turn this around, and we'll see what happens. Mike, thanks very much. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Mike.